If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by the boys, Kyle Lynch and Matt Beck. And boys, I feel like I kind of owe everybody an apology that listens to us because it's been a little bit since y'all have heard from us, at least new episodes. It's definitely been a little bit because I know a few episodes that have not been edited or posted yet. That is 100% on me because much like a year ago where I moved and there was a little bit of a gap between episodes, that also happened this year. So I'm done moving. We're back on a semi-normal recording schedule. And today we're talking about Mafia, the old country. And now I feel like I owe the two of you an apology because I saw all of the pre-release impressions, shall we say, of what people who got the game early were saying about Mafia, the old country. I kept seeing people say, if you love Mafia, you will love this game. This is like definitive Mafia. This is like a return to form. Obviously, Kyle, me and you have talked about Mafia 3. I think, Matt, we've talked about it a little bit as well. Was it the best Mafia game? It got very repetitive after a really strong start, and a lot of people were jaded because of that game. And I hate to say it, but if I was reviewing this game, the old country, if I was reviewing this based on my first like 3 or 4 hours, I probably would have given it a 9 out of 10. The problem is, I beat the game, and the game to me now is more like a 6 out of 10. Because this game does not hold up well after a very strong start, in my opinion. We'll dive into a lot of things, but Kyle, I'll start with you, man. I feel like we normally start with good and then go into bad, but I don't really know if there's a lot of good for us to talk about right now. So I feel like the biggest issue, and I know you had this issue specifically, I definitely saw a lot of credibility to this issue. This game gets off to a very, very slow start, and I don't feel like it does the game any favors.
It really doesn't, and I mean, the part in the mines I get because the whole part with his friend dying, that was supposed to be some motivation, and then it starts the whole knife fight. But the game, in my opinion, really picks up when he gets saved by the Dawn, and then you have about, like, I don't know, 10 minutes of cutscene before you get into the next fucking part of gameplay. But after you get, to the Dawn stable, that's when the game really picks up, story-wise and gameplay-wise, I think. I don't know. This story, I feel like, was really, really good for most of the part because, like, I'm even talking about it now, and I'm like, man, I was excited about this. I was excited about these parts, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The ending of this fucking game sucked, and
It's terrible.
I don't even care about the story anymore, to be honest. It's just so bad because of how they ended it. It doesn't even make me want to discuss any of the things that happen. Because it was for nothing. Who gives a shit what happened in this fucking game? Because in the end, it means nothing.
I do think there's a fair part of that I do agree with as well, is that, and you both heard me say this quite a bit, I think especially as we got into the last chapter, and don't worry, we'll go ahead and say spoilers right now, because we're going to talk about the ending, don't worry. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody, even though at this point, if you want to play this game, you likely have already played this game. But I do think the story is well written. I do think the characters are well written and are expertly voice acted. I do think there are positives like that. Like, I said that there were multiple characters in this game that I loved from realistically beginning up to the beginning of the last chapter. The last chapter does a lot of damage to a lot of these characters for me. And I think that you both feel pretty similarly. Matt, I think that a lot of it starts that Enzo, if we want to be positive, I think he's a very good protagonist. I think he's a good, I don't want to say hero to the story, because obviously I think that that word gets a little muddy. We're talking about members of the Mafia. After all, the Mafia is not exactly known as a good organization. But I do think Enzo is a really good protagonist, and I think that the love interest, the romance storyline is very believable from a Mafia standpoint.
Yeah, that is the one thing that stuck with me from beginning to end is that Enzo has such a tragic backstory, basing off of the fact that he was given up by his own parents to the Spadaros and he was forced to work on the mines. And like, he made a friend, and it's like what Kyle was saying in the beginning there, his friend just ends up dying in the most dumb way possible, the most cliche. Oh, I dropped something. I need to go back while this mine is caving in on itself, and he just gets crushed.
And it's
so
very predictable. It's very predictable.
It is absolutely predictable. But throughout his journey, I do feel like Enzo is definitely being the protagonist and everything, that he definitely does get quite a good character development going from just this. Will they say Carusi? They say that quite a lot here.
Caruso, I think it's Caruso. I can't remember. Like there's, I learned in this game that no one has ever said capiche. Apparently, the right way. Apparently, it's you capisce. Like apparently, it's that. Apparently, it's that. Yeah. So there was. Yeah. I have to. I don't want to say ho Kyle here, but one of the funniest memories I will have from this game is there's one line, and I don't know exactly what it means. So if it's naughty, then forgive me. But I probably should have looked it up for it. But there's a line they keep saying throughout the game that is, I think it's like Figgy Butana or something like that. And Kyle makes a line at one point talking about Isabella. And it's like I just want that thicky butana, and I'm just like, what possessed this man to say that? But I do bring it back to the actual conversation though, Matt. Again, I do think that Enzo's well written, Isabella's well written. I loved Cesare as a character. I loved Luca in this game as well, and I do feel like a lot of it starts with the voice acting. I think the voice acting in this game is very good.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say. I think the strongest thing in this game is the voice acting. Everybody is definitely like they're a character. Like they sound great. Like it was very believable. Like I was watching a movie. And like, I mean, I'm not going to knock the game too much, like on the graphics or really on the performance that much, because I did have a couple of crashes here and there. But I mean, this rendition of Sicily in 1904, it was gorgeous. Like I thought the setting was beautiful. I mean, as much as the open, can't really call it an open world now, can we? It's more of a sandbox.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Go ahead.
Like, and I thought that a lot of the vistas were beautiful, but some was just kind of bare bones. It was just really, you get to a certain point where it's just really like the same building over and over on the countryside of Sicily. But in the end, like I thought that the world that everything took place in was nice. Now going back to Enzo, as far as I was saying, like I think that his interactions with the characters, like you have, the main love interest in Isabella, the Don's daughter. You have, his basically Enzo's mentor in Luca. And then I think that the Don, in the beginning of the game, he's not really around that much, but you encounter him more and more often as you get towards the end of the game. I like the motivation. Now, it's absolutely cliche what happens. I'm not going to talk about that just yet. But like, I mean, who didn't see it coming? Some guy pulled off off the street to work for the Teresi family, ends up falling in love with, of all people, the Don's daughter. But I do like the interactions between Cesare and Enzo. Cesare is the nephew of Don Teresi, and he's talking about how like he wants to take over the family business and everything like that. And we also end up meeting Leo, who I think is another fantastic character throughout this game.
Yes,
there's a lot of strong points here as far as a story goes. I feel like something like this works more as a movie than it does as a game.
Well, okay, so that's what I was going to ask you on next, because I do feel like one of the things that gets this game in trouble, and one of the reasons why it maybe doesn't stick the landing. Do you think? And I'll let either one of you answer this. If you both have different answers, that's cool too. But I really feel like they should have just made a decision, a hardline decision, either make the game open world or
Yeah.
make the game linear, because this kind of hybrid, like it's somewhat open, it's somewhat linear. I do feel like that hurts this game a lot. I feel like that hurts this game quite a bit, because I feel like if you're going for just the linear approach, one of the biggest, weakest parts of the gameplay, the driving, becomes significantly less of an impact, because
Yeah.
the driving in this game is terrible. It's
I
beyond awful.
I just rode the horse almost the whole entire game outside of the main missions where you were forced to drive. Like when you're
Kyle just hit.
driving,
He just hit skip drive the
I
entire
skip
time.
every drive.
when you're when you're like that, like when you honestly, like there was a funny moment here where Enzo was driving Leo and Cesare, and Cesare's like, "Hey, pull over! I gotta piss," and he just like climbs up on top of the bridge. I thought that was a really good moment with them. Some good character like development for all the characters as far as like building that relationship goes. Like like the game has its moments, and like that's just what I am so disappointed about is the fact that. Like you
Yeah,
have such a strong story, you have strong moments, but then it's just like once the actual gameplay happens, I just want to put the
yeah.
controller down.
So Kyle, did you feel any different? Like, would you have preferred open world or linear, either in particular, instead of this hybrid?
Honestly, I think open world would have been fine after seeing the way they did their linear game, and I mean, Mafia 3 was open world. I think that wasn't really the complaint. It was mainly that the open world wasn't justified. It was repetitive and boring. If they had made this open world but a little smaller scaled, no repetitive, dumb bullshit missions, just make them one and dones, give you a little bit to explore, maybe 20 collectibles, 50 collectibles, shit like that. No 200. Don't need that fucking many, but I think
I do think the collectibles are overblown. I do agree with that. The collectibles are very overblown, especially when you see how many of them there are. I think
Yeah,
that Matt, you bring up a really good point, Matt, and I wanted to hit home on this. Is that I think that's what makes this game for me so frustrating to talk about, is because I
yeah,
see potential. I see a story that, while yes, very predictable, very cliche, very contrived, it's not going to do anything that you're not expecting. It's not. Everything that you expect to happen in this game along the way is going to be exactly what happens. That being
yep,
said, I do think it's well written. I do think it serves as kind of a nice origin story, again, for like the Mafia, especially when you look at it from the American perspective of, we hear about, people making moves at Empire City throughout this game, but we don't ever really see any of that. But it serves as kind of a nice little origin for all of that. And that's pretty cool. I do feel like this game does nail the feeling of a Mafia story. And I think one
yeah,
of the best things they did, and Matt, I think you and I would agree on this. I think their handling, because you mentioned it, I think their handling of Don Teresi early in this game is part of the reason why his character works so well. Because early in the game, you only have this vision of him, this vision of, he's short tempered, he's quick to anger, he's all about loyalty. And so when you see him angry and you don't see him that much, you're led to believe that he's just this big angry person. But over time, you see, no, he just values honor, integrity, loyalty. And you really see, I feel like they develop his character really well. I feel like,
yeah,
in terms of voice actors, he's one of the best performances in the game.
yes, yeah. I
So I
agree with
feel
that.
so I feel like that's part of what frustrates me about this game, because as we dive into the gameplay, there is nothing about this game that is special in a gameplay element. The stealth is not great. The third person cover shooting. You've played Uncharted, you've played this. Like, if you played Last of Us, you played this. The driving is some of the worst in a game ever. So much so that, I mean, Kyle, you saw. I don't even know if you want to relive the race chapter. I don't know if you want. I don't know if you want to relive that. But like, dude, that chapter made me the angriest in the game, because it's like I could drive perfectly, and then somebody, one of these stupid ass AI, bumps me. I hit a dadgum rock in the road and my car flips and goes 300 feet in the opposite direction. Not because of anything I did, but because of the AI and how bad the driving is. Like, Kyle, this gameplay is just, there's nothing about it that's going to stand out.
Yeah, honestly, not at all. And I hate to say this, but in my honest opinion, this is the worst Mafia game. I'd rather play 3 any day over this. The driving,
I don't disagree.
The driving was miserable. The story was great up until the end, which nullified the whole fucking thing. The cover shooting was unoriginal, and I felt like the combat in 3 was a lot more fun. You could go in stealth, or you had a plethora of weapons that you could use, not 3 or 2 or whatever. Like, I don't know. This feels like a major step in the wrong direction, and I also don't understand where a lot of people on Twitter specifically, I guess, are for some reason they really enjoyed the linear aspect of this game, and it stuck with them. I mean, this game reviewed well, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of touch, but I just didn't think this was a really good game.
No, I agree, and I think it might be time to go ahead and dive into the ending. Because the ending is, oh my gosh, it's abysmal. It's not good. So as Matt was saying, and Matt, I'll kind of let you take the lead on this a little bit. You're working your way throughout this game, and there's not a lot that's going to surprise you. There's quote unquote betrayal. This is where we're going to get into spoilers. So if you really don't want to hear spoilers for this game, click off the episode now. But like, I feel like one of the biggest examples of like you meet Luca, and I don't think any of the three of us were like, oh, he'll definitely live to the end of the story. No, we're all like, oh, mentor character. He's definitely going to die at some point. And guess what? It's exactly what happens. It's exactly what happens. He dies, and it's not a surprise whatsoever. You get to the ending of this game, and Enzo and Isabella have this grand plan to escape. Isabella is now pregnant with Enzo's child. They get to the train station, and of course, that would have been way too easy because unfortunately, I believe one of the priests at one of the nearby churches, I believe one of them basically snitched to Tito, one of the older guys in the mafia, and Isabella is taken and locked back up in the house on the vineyard where all the family lives. Enzo is taken to the mines where we get into one of the worst gameplay sections in the entire game. And now, the entire time, there's one detail that I have not mentioned yet. That's because it's going to send me into an irrational rage thinking about why this was added into the game. And that is the fact that there is a freaking volcanic eruption in the background the entire time this is happening. And it serves like no purpose.
Yep. Yeah.
And like Matt, I'll let you go ahead, Matt. I'll let you talk. I've talked a lot the last couple of minutes. But that infuriates me because it feels so shoehorned in and it has little to no significance on the plot.
Yeah, honestly, like I know I've had this conversation with you. It just felt like they wanted the final act to have some giant spectacle going on in the background that's just causing like all these issues as Enzo's trying to escape from the mines to get back to Isabella. But like honestly, running through the mine and then having to like take down some of the Don's henchmen, and then the Don himself is in the mines basically chasing after you, shooting at you, and the mines are filled with gas, so you have to shoot like these tankards to really like actually kill them. But like, and then you get to the out there, and then it just turns into this knife fight. Meanwhile, the volcano's going off in the background, and then like you even have a moment at the end where you were playing as Isabella. The whole fucking vineyard's on fire, but all anybody cares about is to basically force Isabella to get an abortion. I'm like, this is just so unbelievable. Also, a train's running during a volcano, so there's also that. Like, it was
so. Isabella manages to get out of the vineyard and get on a boat to America. But to be able to have done that, there had to have been a train running. to get her to the boat. There's a volcanic eruption going on. What train is running during that? Like, I know that if you're listening, that seems like a super specific detail to get hung up on. But when you start to think about that, Don Teresi has taken this land from the Spadaros. There is a volcanic eruption going on, and all he can think is, "I have to kill Enzo. I have to make him pay." And then in the vineyard, again, all this is happening. The grounds are catching fire around you. Everything you have is burning to the ground. And all they can think is, "We must get Isabella to this doctor so that he can remove this child." And it's like, what
Yeah.
part of this makes any sense? What
Yeah.
part of this, like, this is not good stories. And then Kyle, the coup de grace, at least for Enzo's story and how it wraps up, because if you thought he made it to the end of this game, guess again, because after you defeat Don Teresi, Cesare, who has been jealous of you the entire time because of how close you were to the Don throughout the entire game, you fight him earlier on in this section, and when you win, Enzo lets him live. Cesare comes, gives you a hug, and says, "You know what, man? I'm sorry. Just you and me, just like we always talked about." And in the middle of the hug, what does he do, Kyle? He stabs him and kills him. And it's like,
God.
Enzo would not have trusted him at that point.
No,
He
it
would
would
not. Like, it's like, Kyle. This ending is just it's just a damn mess.
If you complained about Last of Us Part 2's ending, you have no business saying that this ending was good. Because,
Not at all.
my brother in Christ, like, at least Abby didn't turn around and stab Ellie in the fucking back. This was literally, I mean, the dumbest shit. It pissed me off so much that they did this because, like you both said, it was completely out of character, and it was just written really, like, if you wanted a real shock ending, how crazy would it have been if you win all of these knife fights the whole game, and then you lose that knife fight against Cesare and he kills you? And then
Yes.
the last bit is like, that would have been a more tragic ending because he failed. And
Yes.
instead, he just said, "Nah, I'm not gonna. I've killed almost everyone I've gotten into a knife fight with, but I'll let you live." That was
Because
dumb.
the whole point of this story, for the most part, is like, especially as this romance really starts to intensify, it becomes like you have to be careful who you trust. Like, you have to be careful who you tell certain things to, who you let certain details slip to. Things that you do in public, you have to be careful who sees you. Like, all of that is made important, and then Enzo just forgets all of that in this ending, and it makes him look like a moron. And I don't like that because I liked Enzo. I loved Enzo as a character. I loved Cesare as a character. Again, I loved the Don. I loved Isabella. I loved a lot of characters in this game. But the way they wrote this ending, and especially when one, making you play as Isabella gave me MJ from Spider-Man PS4 flashbacks like a
Yeah.
mother. Like, I
Yeah.
cannot tell you, when the camera shifted back a little bit out of the cutscene, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." I was like, there is no way that they're going to make me do it. And then not only do they make you do it, but it's like a 30-minute section that ends with the boss fight. So it's not very well done in that regard. But then you get to the end, and Cesare makes his way back to the vineyard. Everything is burning to the ground. People are dying. And Isabella's on her way out, and Cesare just says, "Go, there's nothing else for you here," and lets her live for some reason. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? I'm like, I get it that, like, I'm not asking, and I want to make that very clear. I'm not asking for violence against women in video games. I'm not asking for that. But again, it's a decision that does not make sense. And the only way I can justify it is Cesare saying, at the end of the day, that is family, and he does not want to do that. And that I understand to an extent.
Yeah.
But it still feels out of character that, like, "Oh, go, there's nothing for you here." There's nothing here for you either. Like, what does that line even mean? All your stuff is gone too. Like, there's no family for you to run. There's no business for you to run. Like, The Don's literally dead. Tito is dead. Luca is dead. Like everyone that is significant outside of Leo, because he is going over to America. Outside of him, everybody else significant tied to the family is gone. So it's a poorly written ending. That's just Matt. And I
I mean, I
hate
was
it,
gonna
Matt,
say,
because
yeah,
we said it. Well, here I want to say this, and I'll let you go ahead. It frustrates me because, like I said earlier, and I think you've said, and Kyle, I think you believe this too. There are enough things in this game that gave me hope that there is quality in here, and the ending frustrates me because to me it just takes it all and it flushes it down the toilet.
yeah. I was gonna say, I just probably just imagined that Cesare just walked to the burning villa and just died there. To be perfectly honest with you, because he
I
was
would have
very
rather I would have rather him just not say anything to Isabella. I would have rather him
yeah.
just not say anything to her. Just walk. Just don't even look at
Drop
her.
the tickets.
Blank look on your face.
Yeah,
Just walk past her. Just give her.
yeah,
Just drop the tickets on the ground and
yeah,
walk past her.
yeah. It was just gosh. Once the ending happened, and then we get the end scene with Isabella arriving to Empire City. And now I didn't play any of the previous Mafia games, so I didn't really like connect with the music playing at the end. But I did read on Twitter and on Reddit that the music playing in the background was from Mafia 2, which was like the
Which
main
is cool.
which I thought was really cool. I mean, there were a few connections here. I mean, Luca's son is Sam, who's the main character of Mafia 2, I believe.
Maybe I think so.
So I mean, I
He's,
thought that
I
was
think
cool.
he's one of them.
But, like, once the game is over, unless you're going to go collect everything, that's it. That's it. The open world.
Yes.
There's literally like no combat. There's no encounters with enemies in the quote unquote open world. All that stuff for you to do is take pictures, collect postcards, collect little
Which if I wanted to do that, I would just play Spider-Man.
collect little fox statues all around the world, and then once you're done with that, that's it. I literally made a joke how it's like if you continue to play this game because you want the platinum, it feels like the ghost of Enzo is stuck in some fucking purgatory, just collecting things after he is dead.
Good Lord, that's dark. Oh my God. Holy cow. Oh my God. I didn't think of it like that. Jeez. But I tend to agree. It's why I think it's so hard to say because they tried to make this again a hybrid. Some of it's linear, some of it's open world, and there's good parts to both. There's bad parts to a lot of both. But I feel like this game would have seriously benefited from either just being open world or just being linear. I don't really know which one would have been better of the two. But I do feel like the game was hurt by just them not making a decision, and then it does not help as well that at the end of the day, they botched the ending. They didn't really have any twists there at any point in the story. Like the betrayals that happen in this story, if you play this game, you're gonna see it coming a mile away. You're gonna see it. You'll know exactly what's gonna happen. It's not gonna shock you. So I mean, fellas, I just be honest. I'm glad that we've talked about this game so that we can move on because I've had to for the last like 3 weeks, I have had to keep something of this game locked in my brain, and now I can kind of just let that go because I knew we had to review it at some point. But thankfully, we've got a lot more coming out. We've got obviously Metal Gear Delta, what just came out. We're still very early on in that. For anyone that was wondering, because I know we have a fair amount of listeners who remembered how we did season 1. Our plan for Twisted Metal is we are going to watch the entire season and then review the entire season in one episode. So instead of doing one episode or one review, a week, we'll just do one big old. It'll probably be Kyle. You could tell me. You'll probably have a better idea. It's probably going to be an episode that's over an hour long. But we'll be discussing that in one episode. We've also got Lost Soul Aside coming. Hollow Knight's Silk Song is coming out soon. Borderlands 4 is in the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be a lot more episodes coming here soon. So we appreciate the patience. And again, a lot of that is on me. I've been doing moving process stuff, and that is always a bear and a half. But thankfully, that should not be a problem for the foreseeable future. So that's going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. You can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can check us out on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, for Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.